the end is not over yet. Second, with the end of human rights, another right announces itself, a right which does not belong to the catalogue of human rights, nor to that of a state, nor to that of state and civil rights, but are supported by them, and barely belongs to juridically definable rights at all. It simply cannot belong to them as one of their series, because it is the unconditional condition of all rights, therefore legally unqualifiable and indeed inalienable and unrelinquishable. Arendt calls it the right to have rights. She characterizes it as the right of every individual to belong to humanity. The right of having rights and of belonging to humanity is not contained in any historical declaration of human rights. Every existing declaration starts out with a descriptive or prescriptive definition of what man is, by nature and according to his essence, and pursues to elaborate specific rights befitting him on the basis of this being. The Charter from 1948 states, in this sense, all men are free and equal in dignity and rights by birth. Every human has the right to live, to life, freedom, and security of his person. In distinction to such rights, the right to have rights is a privilegium in the strictest sense, a pre-legal premise, a proto-right, in which it is left open what a human may be, who a human may be, and which rights may be granted to him aside from this unique one of belonging to humanity and of formulating his rights correspondingly. Therefore, this privilege is preceded neither by natural nor historical determination of man, of humanity, and its humaneness. Every given determination, whether it be given by the vague power of nature or by particular historical cultural powers and habits, would restrict the right to have rights, since these determinations could not but bind this right to certain predicates, properties, qualities, and paradigms, to the concept, for example, of a person, of security, equality, whatever it may mean, or naturalness, limiting its absoluteness. And it claims to be absolute because it is a right before all rights, preceding all rights. Every given determination of man breaks with this right of belonging to humanity, because only the humanity and humaneness that are not yet given would be able to determine what or who a human is. This right of belonging to humanity and of having its rights may not be handled like a piece of data, since this right would be able to be granted by humanity itself and in its entirety alone. It must rather be treated as a principally open right, open to humans and open to their humanity. It must be, for every present time, the right to a future community and the right of this unpredictable, unprogrammable future itself, the right that is to come. The right to have rights therefore suspends all given, all positive rights that claim to define the substance of man. It must be the right of the cessation and exposition of positive rights, and the right of transforming the so-called human rights in view of the rights for humanity. The right to have rights is a right that gives rights their possibility, without, however, being in any essentialist sense the source of a gift. The only reality that is laid down in this right is that of this very possibility of having rights, of using, transforming, and expanding them. It is the possibility offered to the existence of each and everyone, whoever or whatever he, she, or it may be. While the classical human rights are only valid for the citizens of political organizations, sovereign nation-states and their federations, the right of rights claims the belonging to humanity independently from every natural or political legitimation. This right is thus valid for all of those who were in the past excluded from civil rights and human rights, or who were able to be excluded de jure because they were not viewed as humans, but rather, whether metaphorically or not, as animals machines as either beneficial to life or life-threatening. The right to have rights is therefore primarily and above all valid for those who Hannah Arendt characterizes as absolutely deprived, alienated in every sense of the word, exploited and divested, for those who exist in the abstract nakedness of being human. Abstract nakedness of being human. As a human being in general, without a profession, without citizenship, without an opinion, without a deed by which to identify and specify himself, and different in general, representing nothing but his own absolutely unique individuality, which deprived of expression with an action upon the common world loses all significance. End quote. This bare human existence, however, that Hannah Arendt speaks of here as being excluded from the shared world, distanced from social action and foreign to every significant common language, no longer a naked human existence, but a naked existence without further qualification. Arendt therefore speaks of, I quote, unqualified mere existence. This mere existence is the only source of law for the right to rights. It is existence without qualities, and thus mere being in its possibility of claiming the right to qualities, predicates, and property, as well as in its impossibility of being substantially determined by these particular rights or those predicates or this property. Only such a being, without nature and without history, can be a being that is capable of nature and open to history. And alone out of its freedom from predicates, is mere existence capable of becoming a social existence that is not determined in advance by the appartenance to a species, a group, nation, a state, or even just a language. Unqualified mere existence, which also comprehends the being of animals and of natural and artificial things, is the only universal that is at once utterly singular, a hapax legorum. By it alone, a universal order, a world, thus more than just a global order, would have to orient itself. This world could not be a legal one or a world of rights. It would have to be a world in which this each time singular universal, this universal singular could manifest itself, and thus it may not be a world at all. Or it may be only an alien world, or another world, or world open to its own alterity. 4.5. How is it possible to speak of it? The classical political theories start by assuming that man is always both a zoon politikon and a zoon loganaker, and that he is the one only because he is the other. The ability to assign political status is, however, not an accomplishment of the logos in general. It is rather accomplished by the judging, predicative, apophantic logos, which decides whether something is to be connected with something else or not. The right to have rights, which also means to have political rights, is itself evidently not a political right, but rather a parapolitical right whose structure cannot be that of predicative sentences, because this right consists of a minimal and not further reducible claim of the ability to be connected with others. And thus, it does not consist in a judgment as to whether such a connection does or does not exist. Aristotle's politics formulated the double determination of man as a political being and as a being capable of language. In a famous passage of his Hermeneutics, he names as the sole example of a non-apophantic logos the oiche. Oiche means prayer, plea, wish, claim, vow, also curse and malediction.